I'd like to call the Mentor City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, February 7th, 2017 to order. The invocation will be given by Councilman Blake.
Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Donovan?
Here.
Mrs. Dowling?
Here.
Mr. Kirchner?
Here.
Mr. Krieger?
Here.
Mr. Landig?
Here.
Mr. Marne?
Here.
The approval of minutes of the regular meeting of January 17th, 2017.
Move to approve. Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Public hearings, we have none. New legislation, ordinance number 17-0-10.
An ordinance to authorize transfers of funds and revisions to appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Malinowski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Members of council, this ordinance does a couple things. Firstly, it authorizes the permanent transfer of cash from the city's general fund into both a federal grant fund known as the SCBA grant to close that out, and our payroll stabilization fund to fund severance payments. And then it has several, as noted, appropriation revisions to our 2017 budget, largest being costs of traffic signal work on Heisley Road. I recommend approval. Thank you.
Madam President, if I could just add a comment to that. You'll see those two the Heisley Road reference that Mr. Malinowski pointed out are two appropriations, one for $40,000 for engineering work, the other for $225,000 for actual construction work related to the Heisley signalization corridor, which we discussed with council prior to the meeting. So this would allow us to begin the engineering for those signals immediately, and then of course as we proceed forward with construction, we would bring that before council under a separate ordinance and agreement.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Mr. Marne, did you have a comment?
No, I'm good. I'll just
Okay.
do it later. That's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-10 has been approved. Ordinance number 17-0-11.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Concord Road Equipment Manufacturing, Inc. for the purchase of a dump truck body and related equipment under the State of Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak?
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinances 11 and 12 both relate to similar purchase of the dump trucks in our Public Works Department, as well as the appurtenances related to that. Mr. Schweikert, please.
As part of our ongoing fleet management program, we would like to purchase a new dump truck. This is the type of truck that's used in all manner of activities within the department, maintenance, construction, and probably most importantly, snow plowing. Unfortunately, given all the options and configurations, these trucks don't come as a package, so we need to buy separately. The cabin chassis is in one purchase and then the body in the other. And that's what these two pieces of legislation relate to. And in both cases, we're using the two different purchasing programs that are available through the state of Ohio. Thank you.
Gentlemen?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-11 has been approved. Ordinance number 17-0-12 as amended.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Rush Truck Centers of Ohio for the purchase of an International 7400 truck cab and chassis under the State of Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program and declaring an emergency.
Any additional comment?
Move to amend.
Second.
The amendment would be to interlineate the correct amount of the contract, which would be $67,538.71 instead of the other reference.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to suspend as amended.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 17-0-12 has been approved as amended. Ordinance number 17-0-13.
An ordinance to levy assessments for the construction of certain sidewalks in Zone 1A associated with the 2015 sidewalk repair and pedestrian safety program in the city of Mentor and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the final item that council needs to do in order to complete Zone 1A, which is the actual assessment of those properties who chose not to perform the work on their own. Mr. Swigger, a little recap of what this component of the program did?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. The city's sidewalk contractor, Liberta Construction, has completed repairs to the sidewalks in Zone 1A, and this was part of our 2015 sidewalk repair program. Approximately 466 slabs of concrete sidewalk were replaced through the assessment process on 226 properties. Sidewalk construction costs associated with the assessment work totaled approximately $92,000. To date, 6 property owners have paid the city directly for the work, reducing the assessable construction cost to $89,286. Administrative costs totaled $27.88 per property being assessed. So the total aggregate cost of the assessment includes cost of construction, the administrative fees plus interest, which is 2% over 3 years, and totals $101,144.86. Publication for notice of the assessments ran in the News Herald for 3 weeks, starting October 26th and ended on November 15th, as required by the Ohio Revised Code. Residents were then provided 2 weeks to make objections to the assessments with the assessments that were on file with the Clerk of Council. No objections were filed with the clerk. The attached legislation is an ordinance per the ORC for assessments for construction of the sidewalk over the parcel shown on Exhibit A. Upon council approval of the ordinance, the total assessment against each parcel of land can be paid directly to the Director of Finance at the City of Mentor within 30 days. After a 30-day window to pay expires, the assessment totals will be sent to Lake County Auditor for collection with the general taxes in 6 semi-annual installments over a 3-year period. Additionally, a notice will be published in the News Herald stating that such assessment has been made and is on file in the office of the Clerk of Council for inspection by the public. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I could, each one of these parcel owners were billed for their repairs, and they had the opportunity to mail in their payments. Is that, so each one of them was individually contacted before
Yes.
we got to this part?
Yes. Yes, they were given an opportunity to perform their work directly.
Right.
When they did not, that work was performed under the city's contract. After that point, each resident is then given an opportunity to pay directly for the amount of the assessment. And I would just say, Dave, how many 20-some took advantage of that? And then the remainder will go on the assessed rolls.
And so moving forward, they have another 30 days to pay for the repairs, and after that 30-day period, and I know this is all in there, but I'm just stating for clarity, after the next 30 days, then it will be assessed to their property tax.
Yes.
But they all got letters individually?
Several, yes.
Okay.
Multiple letters along the way.
Yeah, I knew that. I just want to make sure that everybody who gets these letters saying, hey, your tax bill's gone up, you know, they had the opportunity. And for some, it might be the best way to pay for that cost because you're spreading it out over a period of time, 3 years.
Because you asked the question, it's oftentimes a good opportunity to just point out too that, you know, the city makes every effort to try to lower the cost as much as possible. So most of the administrative work is done in-house, you know, other than postage and any advertising for legal notice. Those are really the only costs that go into the administrative fees that are attached. And then I think more than anything, we do our best to try to break up that so it doesn't impact homeowners in one lump sum. So we'll do this over a 3-year period at a very low interest rate in order to keep that cost down. We really just, it's about safety in the neighborhoods,
Right,
not really
right.
about trying to put people in an economic disadvantage.
And you know, one other point to be made here too is during the summertime, I looked at a lot of those slabs and the concrete work that was done up there was very good quality.
Glad to
So
hear
I
that.
don't think that those slabs will have to be replaced for a very long time, you know. So we did have a good contractor who did good work, so, you know, the
And
cost
again,
is quality.
that work is inspected by city employees, and that is another cost that's waived,
Right.
which would otherwise require inclusion as a permit cost.
And for what it's worth, I inspected it too and gave it the big thumbs up. So, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Move to
Gentlemen?
suspend.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marr?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marr?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-13 has been approved. Ordinance number 17-0-14.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to award a bid contract to A&J Cement Contractors, Inc. for Contract B and Alternates 1, 2, and 3 of the 2017 road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, members of council, Madam President. And these next two ordinances represent our neighborhood street repair and replacement program for 2017. And once again, one of the major benefits of council and administration working hard late at the end of the year is we get our budget adopted before the end of the year, so that we're in a position to get these bids out early. And you can see by the bid results that we've once again gotten very favorable bids. This first contract before you is for the concrete repair work. The second ordinance will deal with the asphalt. Mr. Swigger will tell you a little bit about the details, but in totality, this represents probably about $1.5 million worth of work in the end, some of which will be performed in-house by the Public Works Department. This is contracted directly. Mr. Swigger?
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. 3 bids were opened on Monday, January 23rd for Contract B of the 2017 road repair program. The project will provide full-depth concrete repairs to 6 city streets. Streets included in the base bid are Deer Ridge, Farley Drive, Grovewood Drive, Industrial Park Boulevard, Jody Lynn Drive, and Justin Way. Quantities bid under alternate 1 will be utilized for work within Mentor on the Lake. Alternate 2 will allow for additional work on Mentor streets as quantities allow, and alternate 3 permits the reconstruction of inlet basins within these contracted streets. The 3 bids received for the base bid and combined alternates range from a low bid of approximately $419,000 to a high bid of approximately $437,000. Been determined that A&J Cement Contractors of Euclid, Ohio submitted the lowest bid at $419,442. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost for the work was $442,000. A review of the bid from A&J Cement Incorporated indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements. Thank you.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marr?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-14 has been approved. Ordinance number 17-0-15. Any
An or-
additional comments?
Sorry?
Nothing additional on 15?
I think we
Good.
do have a few
Okay.
additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. And along with the concrete work, bids were opened on January 23rd for the asphalt portion of the road repair program. The work includes resurfacing of 15 city streets, full depth repairs on Hopkins Road, and partial depth repairs on Pinecone Drive and Pine Needle Drive. Streets included for resurfacing are portions of Adkins Road, Anaconda Avenue, Danbury Court, Dearborn Avenue, Elmwood Road, Fairlawn Drive, Grove Avenue, Harbor Drive, Hillcrest Avenue, Lafayette Drive, Menor Park Boulevard, Pine Tree Drive, Roselawn Drive, Spring Valley Drive, and Wasatka Street. The bid package consisted of a base bid and 2 alternates, which also include work in Menor on the Lake. 7 bids received for the base bid and the alternates range from a low bid of approximately $900,000 to a high bid of approximately $1.3 million. And determined that Chagrin Valley Paving of Chagrin Falls, Ohio submitted the lowest and lowest total bid of $900,817.05. And the engineer's opinion of probable construction cost was $1,119,000. Review of the bid from Chagrin Valley Paving indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements, and it's recommended a contract be awarded to Chagrin Valley Paving. The final completion date for the project is estimated at August 18th. Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Move to suspend.
Second.
please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-15 has been approved. Ordinance number 17-0-16.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with the city of Mentor on the Lake for the 2017 road repair program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Philip.
Thank you, Madam President, and this will be the second year in a row that we've worked with Mentor on the Lake. We're always looking for opportunities for intergovernmental cooperation with our neighbors to save both jurisdictions some dollars. We've decided to bid out our respective concrete and asphalt repair programs together. The more work generally means, or often means a lower overall quantity price. And because we're in such close proximity, typically there's no additional costs associated with remobilization. So it's a win-win for both communities, and your assent to allow for this cooperation is required in order for us to, both jurisdictions, for their jurisdiction to award this bid.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve. Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-17 has been approved. We have an addendum, ordinance number 17-0-17.
An ordinance amending Part 9 by adopting Chapter 931, Rights of Way Administration of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. At this point in time, the city does not have a comprehensive right-of-way code. And this ordinance adopts a new chapter to our code to provide for a right-of-way ordinance. For years, we probably didn't need one so much because, you know, the right-of-way use was fairly static with the same users occupying the right-of-way and pretty much all knew their roles. And then in the last year, we've been receiving requests for new installations within the right-of-way from a group that are kind of characterized as small cell providers. And small cell doesn't mean that it's small. As a matter of fact, one of them was wanting to put in 120-foot poles within the right-of-way next to the roads. But it means that the area covered by that node, that method of transmission of data, is a smaller area. They're not going to be like the huge towers. So, and the problem that posed was that there are a number of different providers that want to occupy the right-of-way, and they're going to be competing over the next few years to claim market share. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to want to install new facilities. So what this chapter does is it will regulate the existing facilities and the existing right-of-way users along with this new class of user. And you're going to see new poles in intersections along major arterials. Maybe the question that we don't know yet is how prolific those new poles will become with vehicles going to be getting to the point where they won't need an operator. The need for data to be delivered within the street system is going to increase greatly. And you add to that the fact that everybody has a mobile device that they want to use when they're in a car. So the demand is going to go up, and so the need to provide for that demand is going to go up too. So what this code does is it sets forth some new ground rules. And other than trying to give you a general idea of what we have here, I can try to answer questions unless you wanted more explanation of what this attempts to do. I would like it to be adopted on an emergency basis. We passed a moratorium last fall that has now expired. We worked with a consultant and a lot of people in the building from the planning and building and departments have spent a lot of time trying to get this so that it fits our city. 120-foot poles are not what we're going to want to see. The state of Ohio recently passed legislation that the governor signed, which it will attempt to limit our ability to control our own right-of-way, but it's anticipated that there'll be challenges to that law. So we'd prefer to have our own law on the books to try to regulate the size of those poles that we expect to be coming in. And we want to be able to work with those different providers to give them an orderly format to react to. So that's what we have tonight. I can try to answer questions.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
So if I hear what you're saying, due to technology changing and usage changing, chances are this ordinance will be changed in the future to keep up with both of those two issues.
Yes.
Move to suspend?
Second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam
Mr.
President,
Blake.
If I could just ask a question. I read this last night, and the question I have is, technically, that property belongs to the property owner. And it's a 15-foot setback in front of my house, and I maintain that property. Do I not have any right as to what could go on that property if somebody wants to put a 120-foot tall pole there?
Well, the state of Ohio says you don't.
It's a good start.
But we intend to contest that. This is not dissimilar to when the oil and gas industry kind of got their way as to how things would happen. But we think that there's going to be more control and that the law that's been passed has some features to it that, you know, make it vulnerable in some respects. Now, the one thing they did do is they did limit the pole height to 50 feet. And that's nice. And I'm sure that, you know, that the legislature is also a little concerned as to how this is going to work, because they're being told by different entities that, you know, we cannot try to roll out these new systems if every municipality is going to put us through different standards relative to, you know, how the poles will be spaced, how tall they'll be, et cetera. You know, there's certainly some points to be made for having some predictability. But the right-of-way itself is owned by the city in most respects, unless you're along Route 2. But, and the city has the right under the Constitution and the laws of Ohio to regulate the use of that right-of-way. So the road is the right-of-way, the sidewalk is the right-of-way, the area around it is typically, at least from the edge of the sidewalk into the center line, is right-of-way. And yes, you do own that, but you own it subject to the right-of-way and the ability of the city to say, we're going to have a street there, we're going to have a sidewalk there, and the sanitary sewers and the conduits for, you know, various utility services are going to be permitted both above and below ground. So, yeah, we get to control that, and we have to control that, and that's where there'll be a bit of a struggle now. One of the good ideas that came up, that came from the city's planner, was scaling of the poles, and we thought that, you know, 50-foot poles were pretty tall. And just to give you an idea, next time you're driving around the city, pay attention to Route 306 from Lakeshore Boulevard to Route 2, and you'll see an armada of poles there. They have poles on both sides of the street. They're anywhere from 55 to 65 feet tall. They are major poles, and they're just everywhere. So I don't know what the small cell providers are going to do when it comes to that stretch of road, where they're going to find places to put their poles that they'll even be used. But in most other places of the city, you'll see that the poles are confined mainly to one side or the other side, with, as what the manager would call, service drops on the other side to spread some wiring around. And this has been designed to try to keep all the new poles that would come in to the side of the street that already has poles existing. This will help reduce illumination of trees, a lot of things. And also, all of those new poles would be put in an area where the other poles already exist, so there are aesthetic qualities to this. And the city planner said, well, why don't we limit or conform the new poles to the size of the poles in existence, which is practically a very good idea. And if you look at most of the subdivisions where people have new homes, most of the utilities are located underground. The only thing you see on your street is a light pole, and they're maybe 15 feet tall, maybe 20 feet tall. You certainly don't want a 50-foot tall pole there. So that's where the struggle is going to be, is how this rolls out. And as Scott said, new technology becomes available. Well, everybody remembers how large your phone used to be, and it had to be hooked to your car, and they had to have a power source, and they were gigantic. So where does this end up in 15 years? We're not sure. But in the short run, we want to maintain the appearance of our city, provide the resource that is needed to these companies to deliver the service that is also going to be needed, but to do so in a responsible way that reflects what we have in the city relative to aesthetics and existing infrastructure. If that was too long of a soliloquy, I apologize, but a lot of work went into this.
Mrs. President, so I guess what I'm trying to ask is, if you read this thing, it's about 50 pages in length, and number 34 underneath definitions is a definition of a pole. as you're talking about. So we're just trying to be as bulletproof as possible, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's an even field, so that way everyone knows exactly where we stand and where they stand?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, what I intend to do is to, we have some applicants who've already approached us. We're going to send this to them and say, tell us what you think. Get their response, because this is still so new. There's not a lot of guidance. There's a lot more questions and answers out there. And their technical requirements have not all been absorbed by us. They're still developing them. The 120-foot tall pole, that was their preference, because then they only have to put in so many. So if they scale down the pole, they'll have to put in more poles, and we'll have to try to make them co-locate. So you start getting into some gnarly issues of how big is that pole going to be that the first guy's going to put in, so that it will accommodate the second and third guy, and how are you going to make them share that cost? The first guy goes in, has to pay for the entire pole, and the second guy that goes in gets to co-locate on there because we're telling him to, and not have to share that expense. So yeah, there's the level, it's like the old onion, the level of complexity to this is fairly, daunting. And I understand why the legislature maybe took the role that they did. They're not getting a lot of answers, but they're seeing a lot of need. And so to the extent that they said 50 foot is it, and then, but they gave them an awful lot of permission. They even said that they can locate on our poles and not even pay us for it. So we have 4 signal posts at every major intersection. They're expensive. We maintain them. There are facilities inside them. And to think that, a bunch of different users could come in and tell us how they're going to use our pole for free, that's part of the law that doesn't work for us, among other things.
Madam President, I'm just trying to imagine what a 120-foot pole in somebody's front yard right away would look like. Dave, what's the height of a cell tower? Because that's what I'm envisioning.
Cell tower.
About the same, yeah. You
So
look at
you-
the new one at
Cell tower.
Krieger Park, it's about
Right.
what it is, a little over 100 feet.
And the diameter of the base on that is huge.
It's like
I don't
36
know if
inches.
this is like a whip of some sort that would be thinner, but I feel very uncomfortable seeing that in my front yard or anybody's front. I'm fine with the gas and the electricity and the telephone wires, but
Move suspend?
We already had it.
Oh, it's already there?
There's a motion and a second already.
Okay, Mr. Fleck, did you
Oh,
have any
sorry.
comments before we?
No, I think that the law department has done a very good job of putting this together. We work very closely with them on trying to tweak it to meet some of the local needs. Anytime you're looking at a right-of-way ordinance, and most communities at some point will pass some legislation or administrative rules that will regulate the right-of-way, and it's always a balancing act. And I think Mr. Marn correctly pointed out that you're subject to what's happening in the market, in terms of the business activity in your community, the changes in technology, but it's always a balance between trying to accommodate those needs that are ever-changing and maintaining your community standards. And I think we've done the best we could with this. It will require some amendment as time goes on to alter, to meet needs that we can't anticipate today, but it's a very, very good start, and I agree 100% with the law director. Absolutely needed. We have been getting clobbered. Local control has been, home rule has been getting clobbered by the state legislature for a couple of decades now. Recent legislation that Mr. Hennig referred to is a good example of that. We're not always the first thought in the minds of our legislators when it comes to regulating business activities, and this is a good example. So while I wouldn't call this fighting back, I would call it standing up for those community standards. So I would strongly encourage you to adopt this tonight.
Thank you. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-0-17 has been approved. Second readings. Ordinance number 17-0-08.
An ordinance amending Part 5, Chapter 505 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Mentor, 2006, as amended, the same relating to general offenses, animals and fowl, definitions, and feeding or harbor of nuisance health risk animals.
We have several people that want to speak this evening. Did council have any comments prior to that? Okay, we would ask, there's going to be a time limit of 4 minutes per person, and we would ask that you identify yourself and please provide your address. The first person is Tim Kincaid.
Tim Kincaid. I live at 5759 Cardinal Drive. It's in the Sausalito East development. We have a number of outdoor cats in the community. I have never perceived it as a problem. My wife has never perceived it as a problem. And as far as I know, nobody in our community has perceived it as a problem, or at least nobody has mentioned anything. And it appears as if the legislation that's being proposed here is legislation that is addressing a relatively minor problem with a relatively big sledgehammer. And I would, and accordingly, I would oppose it. The definition of feral cat does not include a requirement that a cat not be neutered. My understanding is that neutered cats, when released into the population, tend to prevent the population from growing. They replace unneutered cats in the colonies, and they maintain a relatively limited growth pattern for the cat population. Therefore, to the extent that this is adopted, I would strongly urge that feral cat be defined to include or to exclude cats that have been neutered. That's about the only comment that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Victor Fythe, F-Y-T-H.
Aye.
Council, guests, my name is Vic Eith. 6396 Seminole Trail has been my home for the past 50 years. I've had a number of dogs that I take for an early morning walk. I'm talking about 5:30 in the morning. Occasionally, we will see a cat. I can't tell if it's a feral cat or someone's pet. I also cycle quite a bit through the neighborhood, and I have the same experience. And at the last meeting, Councilman Blake raised the question about whether or not we have a serious feral cat problem. And from my point of view, along with Tim's, I don't see a large feral cat problem. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. And next, we have Susan, oh wow, S-Z-A-N-Y.
It's like it's sunny outside.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Susan Sunny. I'm Vic Ice's daughter. He just happens to be the 2005 Mentor Citizen of the Year. He was the one that made everyone sing "You Are My Sunshine." So that's, I'm a product of that. But I live 1220 Tioga Trail, so I don't live directly in Mentor, but I live 2 streets away. I live 4 streets away from my father, so I'm part of that community. And there aren't very many cats there, but there were 2 things I wanted to bring up from last meeting, referring to what you said, Mr. Blake, as far as you don't know how big of a problem it is. One of the wonderful things about if you work with the community cats, you would actually have this visible. You would know how many cats are being managed in these colonies. So now you would actually be able to track it. Not only would you see today, get an estimate or a feeling for what your problem is, you would be able to track it and be able to see how you're reducing and helping the problem and be able to communicate that to your constituents as far as, right now you can't communicate any facts as far as like how big of a problem it is and how is it reduced or anything. So I do reporting, so I like the facts part of that. And the second thing was that last year they had a fundraiser, the Mentor Community Cats, and I've joined that, and they had it at the Civic Center. Great turnout. And I would plan on supporting this because Mentor's part of my community as well. I would plan on donating. As they said before, it doesn't cost the city any money. And I can only imagine, we had this huge turnout last year, that if the city council got behind it and promoted it, that we'd have even more people turn out and support the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Shane Guy.
Shane Guy, 1859 West Jackson Street, right on the border of Mentor. I'm in Paynesville, Vice President of Mentor Community Cats. I wish I knew in which direction council is leaning, because I don't want to waste your time if I don't have to, and I don't like to speak in public regardless. But I've attended some other council meetings, and I've seen a lot of research thrown around, and there is a plethora of research on the internet. Most of it poorly conducted, badly funded. When you pull facts from this research, put them together and try to make a case, usually it comes up saying something like 2 + 2 = 5. And I really much prefer solid research that makes simple statements that have a basic logic of 2 + 2 = 4. Just to recap what we've discussed in the past, cats are not carriers of diseases that easily communicate to humans. People have brought up toxoplasmosis, and I know some people are very concerned about it, but again, you have a better chance of being hit by lightning or winning the lottery, and I wish you good luck, and I wish me good luck too with that. If anybody really is concerned about diseases carried by cats, the best defense is to control the population of outdoor cats. Coyotes are not going to control outdoor cats. I live on Jackson Street. I've watched coyotes and feral cats north of Jackson Street in an area that used to be completely undeveloped. And the coyotes, of which there are many that I've tracked, have not made a dent in the feral cat population. And wildlife biology studies have shown this as well. Feeding bans just don't work. People don't follow them. People can always find a place in their backyard to put some food, under something, around something. Feeding bans also discourage people, of course, from contacting people like us who can effectively spay and neuter these cats. So in short, spaying and neutering outdoor cats is really the only effective way to control those colonies, to prevent disease if that's what you're worried about, and to hopefully prevent people from becoming annoyed or people making public situations and pitting neighbor against neighbor. And again, I just urge council to make the logical and humane decision, that 2 + 2 = 4, and go with the solution that we would love to help you implement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Viviani.
John Viviani, 7086 Hoover Drive, Mentor. Tonight I came home, I looked in my backyard, it was under a foot of water. I looked at my garden I used to have, that I no longer have because the cats made a litter box out of it. Then I went in, got the dog, took the dog for a walk, down the street, most of the sidewalk, underwater. What isn't underwater has cat feces on it, cat poop next to it. And I say to myself, The motto of Mentor is it's better in Mentor. Now, is what I'm describing to you better? Okay, I understand the flooding involves millions of dollars to solve, and you are working on that. But this is something real simple that affects me. Now, again, everybody comes in and says TNR, cats don't spread disease, and I think I showed you this last time, my medical bills for my dog from eating cat poop and getting worms for 1 year, $500, okay? And then they say they don't spread disease. Well, a study done at the Cleveland Metro Parks showed 60% of the deer in the Metro Parks had toxoplasmosis. Now they say, how do deer get toxoplasmosis? They get toxoplasmosis from feeding on the ground where the cats have gone to the bathroom. People then eat the deer, undercook it, and get toxo. 15 to 20% of the adult population has worms. 15 to 20% of the adult population in the United States of America shows antibodies for toxoplasmosis, okay? And the biggest spreaders of toxo, feral cats, okay? So people come in, they tell you a lot of things, a lot of half-truths. You've got to get the emotion out of this equation, okay? Because, number one, feral cats are wild animals. And we know you don't feed wild animals. Everybody knows that, okay? I watch these shows, Discovery, this, that. Guy's out in the woods, he's tracking a moose, baby moose. Do they ever feed the animals? No. Do they tell anyone to feed the animals? No. You never feed wild animals. These are not pets. A cat in your house is a pet. A cat out in the wild is a feral cat. You can't adopt that cat. Okay? We had the same thing with the deer. You took a stand, and it was the right stand, because now everybody knows things are better with the deer. You don't have the deer car accidents. Someone's 16-year-old daughter isn't driving around with a deer coming through their windshield killing them. You know, we don't have the problems with the deer we used to have because you did the right thing. And the right thing here is to not feed the cats. The last time I spoke, I went home, I talked to my neighbor. I said, am I the only one? You're in the neighborhood. There's cat poop all in your yard. He said, well, I'm one of the people that feeds the cats. So we got to talking, and we agreed on some things. He told me the story of his cat feeding. When he was young, his mom fed the cats. They found one cat behind a wood pile. So they started feeding it. Come spring, there were 8 cats there. So then he decided, oh, well, we're going to trap these cats. Well, they didn't get them all. By the end of summer, there were 20 cats. Before you know it, they had 30 cats. So every feral cat colony, which there are tons in Mentor, started with one cat, one person with good intentions. Now, we both agreed. I said, if you never fed the first cat, would you have had the colony? No. Okay? So, next thing everybody says, well, we'll feed them anyway. All right, we have a heroin problem. Everybody knows it. Are we going to make heroin illegal? Obviously, the law isn't stopping people from doing heroin. Why do we have a speed limit? You can't say, well, we're just going to break the law. If you pass the law, we're just going to break the law. Doesn't matter. If you pass the law, not everyone's going to break the law. Now, I also have an opportunity to go to my neighbor and say, hey, wait a minute. I know you're feeding these cats. You know, I'm going to call the city. I'm going to do something about this. You also have people debating whether or not they should feed a cat. The easy out, well, it's illegal. So, you know, I'm not going to do it because the city tells me not to. But, you know, in summary, though, you've got to get the emotion out of this. And you've got to do the right thing for the city and the right thing for the citizens of the city. I shouldn't walk down the street and have to dodge cat poop. I shouldn't have cat poop all over my yard. Okay? I should be able to have a garden. I used to come home, pick beans, pick tomatoes, pick lettuce, go cook dinner. I can't do that anymore. In fact, when I moved, I wanted to take the soil with me because that's black gold. The reason you have a good garden is good soil. It's contaminated now. Everything in that soil from the cat poop, all the worms, everything else, it'll live for years. Can't do it. So, you know, that's the reality. And I wish, I talk to people on the street who feel the same way as me, and shame on them for not being here. I know you've gotten calls, I know you have people say they're gonna be here, but the reality is it's not better in Mentor when you have feral cats running around, doing what they're doing, okay? And as far as TNR, it doesn't solve any problem. All they say, they're gonna reduce the numbers. That's it. They're not gonna eliminate the problem. I'm still gonna have cats in my yard every day. I'm still gonna have medical bills. I'm still not gonna be able to garden, okay? All they're telling you, they're gonna reduce the numbers. That's it. That's all they tell you. Now, there's questions whether that even works. But they're
Mr.
not gonna
Viviani,
solve any.
We need to wind down,
Okay,
giving you a little laugh.
thank you. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Kathy Sposito.
Good evening. This is perfect timing, actually, because I want to talk about the colony that he brought up last time he was here. And so I just want to give you an update what was happening with those cats he was talking about. The day after the last meeting, I went out to that area. He told me where the two houses were. They were feeding the cats. I went there, knocked on the doors. I found two very sweet ladies. They're very nice, very happy to see me and to have me help them. And I asked them what had happened, and they said that a couple years back, they had tried to start TNR with their cats, and they had a lady helping them, but for some reason, she could no longer help them. And they had no one else to turn to. They didn't know who to ask for help, so the project was stopped. They had nothing, they didn't know what to do. So that's kind of what happened a couple years ago. So that's why it was never finished, this project. So we came up with a plan with them, and we started trapping the following week, and I loaned them my traps, and they would trap, and I would pick them up, transform to the clinic. And what we came up with, so there were 17 total cats in the colony, and 4 of them had previously been fixed and already ear tips, you know that they're already fixed. So we didn't have to mess with those cats. 13 of the cats, the other 13, I used my box traps, and we trapped them, and we take them to the clinic. They had surgery and vaccinations. And of that group, there were 6 males that were neutered. 1 male had previously been neutered, but he didn't have an ear tip, so we didn't know it. So we had to take him to the clinic. There were 4 females that were spayed, and there were 2 females that were already spayed, but they also did not have an ear tip, so we didn't know. All right, so the whole colony is taken care of. Everyone has been neutered, spayed, vaccinated. And the 3 cats that we found that were previously fixed, that we didn't know because they weren't ear tipped, they are all friendly, and they are likely to either be dumped or lost or whatever like that. So those cats are adoptable, and we have them in foster care right now. So if you know anyone looking for a cat, they are very sweet cats. We got 2 Manx cats, 1 orange cat, so if anyone's looking to adopt a beautiful cat, please come see Mentor Community Cats. So those 3 will be off the streets. It's gonna be less in the colony. And actually, one of the males had to be put down because he developed a severe infection, upper respiratory and eye infection after surgery, so he had to be put down. So that's 1 less also. Let's see. So now that the whole colony is officially done, that's great news. There's no more babies that are gonna be happening. The cats are gonna be healthier because they're vaccinated and fixed, so they'll be healthier. There'll be much less nuisance behavior, such as fighting and spraying. And there's less cats on the street. We pulled off 3. 1 had to be euthanized. There's less cats around. So neighbors should be much happier to have the situation under control. And that is how TNR is done if it's done right. So that's a perfect example of how this works. If you have any questions, just let me know. And also, I have all of their paperwork right here from the clinic if you need to see it for any reason. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Leslie Lawrence from the Holy Cat Whiskers Rescue.
Hello, my name is Leslie Lawrence. I'm the owner and director of Holy Cat Whiskers Rescue in Madison Township. We are a wild stray and feral rescue that has been in business since 2005. We take care of Madison Township and Perry. I think I need to clarify a few things here with this gentleman over here. Number one, what you're dealing with are not ferals. Feral cats do not come into residential areas. They do not come up to people's houses. They do not potty in people's yards. You are dealing with strays. Your strays are from previous domestic cats that have been dumped or left behind, and they revert back into fending for themselves. The ones that have offspring and are not socialized with human behavior then become feral. Our ferals in Madison live in woods. You never see our ferals in Madison. They're about 2 miles into the woods. They live in wooded areas behind businesses in wooded areas, and you do not see ferals. Ferals don't want to see you. They don't want to look at you. They do not want to associate with you. Now, your band. We feed our ferals and our strays once a day. Why? Because we have control and maintain over them and over the colonies. We can assess the situation there. If there's a medical problem, we take care of it. If there's somebody that needs to be euthanized, that it is sick, we take care of it. They are TNR'd. They get 3-year rabies vaccines. And by the way, 1 in about 100,000 cats get rabies. Very unlikely. Toxoplasmosis, sir. I've been doing cats for 50 years and I've never had toxo. Oh, I'm sorry. And I've never had toxoplasmosis. To me, that's the least of your problems. You have people here that are willing to help you and do trap, neuter, and release. It works. It lessens disease by feeding them. I think if you would just educate your residents. Our residents in Madison work with us, and they help us, and they do feed strays. Excuse me, but however, we do educate them on how to feed them away from properties. They don't feed the strays on residential properties. That is your biggest problem, especially in his situation. So if those cats were fed in a different area, away from your residential homes, they wouldn't be there. They're gonna go to a feeding station, they're gonna eat, and they're gonna leave, and you're not gonna have that problem. By putting a ban on this, you're just causing yourself more problems. Number one, they're not gonna listen to it, they're gonna do what they want. Number two, you're gonna have cats that are used to being fed now starving, and I don't know about you, but I don't know how long you can go without being fed. Starving is a horrific way to go, a very slow process. So I just think you really need to look at this realistically. I'd love for you to come out to Madison and see our community. You will not see any of this going on. We are 85% caught up on everything we do. It's an ongoing process. As long as they're humans, you're always going to have cats that are dumped, but we stay on top of it. I think if you educate your residents and get them in with you to help you, you're going to have less problems all the way around. And TNR works. I got to tell you, when we started in 2005, we had over 4,000 cats in Madison that was running. You come out to Madison now and you don't see any of that. It breaks up, it breaks it down, there's less disease. It works. And if you'd like to see proof, you can come talk to our councilman out in Madison and see how it does work. The other question I have for you, real quick, is you have a wonderful Lake Humane Society out here. You need to work with this and get them going on a TNR program for you. They have an in-house vet. I don't understand why you don't work with them, work together, and get this situation resolved. You've got people here that are willing to help you that aren't even charging you a dime. I'd give anything if I had help like this out in Madison. We do this all ourselves. So you got people here that are willing to help you to come in, trap all these animals for you at their time, their cost, no cost to you. If you have a wildlife trapper come out, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. If you euthanize, it's $133 a cat. So you got to weigh your odds here And you really need to stop and think about this. So, you know, this has been going on for years out here. I tried to get Lake Humane 7 years ago to start a TNR program, and they promised me they would, but they haven't. So maybe if you work with them and you approach them, you can get some help and work together and get this situation resolved. I mean, you know what? No one wants cat poop in their yard. I mean, I don't want cat poop in my yard. But this situation here, I think if the cats were fed off the properties, away from the houses, this gentleman wouldn't have the problem. And that's just working with your citizens and your residents and educating them. We educate our residents out in Madison. We have meetings out in Madison that they come to. We help them. We give them housing. We give them food. We give them low-cost spay and neuter. Low-cost spay and neuter. So maybe, Mentor, it's time for you to come up with a plan and form something. And because it's never going to go away, it's just going to get bigger. And every community has this problem. Just thank God it's not dogs. You don't have wild dogs running around, you know. Cats are a little more easier to trap and take care of. So we are here to help you in any way. We may guide you in any way if you'd like to call us. Like I said, our TNR works out in Madison. We do very well, and we don't seem to have the problem. But I'm here to help you along with Mentor Community Cats, and I suggest it's a no-brainer, so I suggest you take it and run with it and kind of do it quietly and quickly and not a lot of yoo-ha, and just get it done. I'm a no-nonsense person, and that's what we do. You know, we don't have all this yoo-ha. We just go in and find the problem, and we take care of it. So if you'd like more help, just contact us, and we'd be happy to guide you in any way. Thank you. Gentlemen?
Move to go to third reading.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marr?
Yes.
Okay, this will go to third reading. Third readings, we have none. Manager's report.
Thank you, Council. We have two open pavement cut requests. East Ohio Gas is relocating gas mains at Prospect, Hart, and Nolan Streets. Ask for your approval.
So moved.
You want to say second?
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marr?
Yes.
Thank you. And the second request is from Davis Diggers at two locations for sanitary sewer connections at 9193 Terrace Park Drive and 9283 Rosemary Lane. Ask for your approval.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
I just have to stop for a point of information here. The picture that I have shows the address with no house on that lot, so that was my question.
Terrace Park?
In Terrace Park, yes.
Yeah, that's a new home? Spotty.
In a subdivision, wouldn't there have been a sanitary connection? Do we really have to cut our road open?
There's a sanitary connection that has what appears to be a sag in it, and they're not having it's not functioning for the new home contractor. So from their current investigation, they would have to replace this existing sanitary connection to make it function properly.
So we have to cut open our road?
It appears we do.
No. I vote no.
I have a question.
Yes.
Dave, do we usually have the house built with plumbing installed and then put the lateral in? Is this a different scenario?
Typically, there's a sanitary lateral constructed at each parcel or each
In a
lot.
development, yeah.
Yes, so this would be pretty standard.
So this is a repair, pretty much?
Would be a repair, a replacement of an existing lateral that was put in with the subdivision.
Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Landig?
No.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council. A reminder to the public that tomorrow, Mentor City Council will hold a public hearing for Democracy Day. It will be held tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Mentor Council Chambers. And at that meeting, we will take public comment on the impact of political contributions of corporations, unions, PACs, and super PACs on the city. Any citizen of Mentor may attend and participate. Participation is limited to 5 minutes of comment per participant. Public Works Department has been busy sending out approximately 200 letters to residents of Hunters Wood, Whalers Cove, and residents along Ohio Street regarding the Tree Lawn Tree Program the council approved. To date, we have received 29 positive requests for trees, and obviously we encourage residents to take advantage of these free tree planting by the city, and we expect that we'll get a few more before the time comes for us to start making putting those trees in. Fire Department reminds us that February is American Heart Month. Heart disease continues to be the leading cause of death for both men and women in the United States. Adopting a heart-healthy lifestyle change can significantly lower the risk that you develop coronary artery disease. The Mentor Fire Department recognizes National Burn Awareness Week, February 5th to the 11th. And this year's campaign is National Scald Injury Prevention. And this program is designed to provide an opportunity to share common burn awareness and prevention messages. To learn more about the facts and safety tips, we invite the public to visit the Fire Department's Facebook page. Parks Department announces that the Mentor Ice Arena will host a Tri-States synchronized skating competition on Friday, February 10th from 9 a.m. to 7:45 p.m. And this is, again, another essentially national event that we're hosting here in our community. About 1,200 competitors on 87 teams ranging in age from 4 years old to the mid-60s from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois will compete. Admission is $10 and $10 for those 12 and over, and I believe, Mr. Kaminsky, 12 and under is free, correct?
That is correct.
We have another exciting event at the Wildwood Cultural Center, Experience the Manor. It's our event planning showcase, and that will be held on Friday, February 17th from 5 to 9 p.m. You will have a chance to meet with local event planning vendors to plan your special event at Wildwood, or of course you can take that information to other events, locations, but why would you want to go anyplace else? And you'll have a chance to talk to those vendors. It's essentially for persons 21 and over, and admission includes food and wine samples. And you can call 440-974-5735 to register. And then finally, we have 2 new businesses that we wish to welcome to our community. Cricket Wireless at 9370 Mentor Avenue, and Podiatrist Inc. at 8332 Mentor Avenue. And we wish them great success, and we appreciate their investment in our community. That's all.
Mr. Filipack, did we do the pavement cut on Rosemary Lane?
Dave,
The
can you answer
third.
that? Has that pavement cut on Rosemary taken place yet?
I thought we approved all 3.
Just
Just did 2?
No, I asked for both within that request, and you approved.
You combined the 2
I
Davis
did.
Acres.
If there's some objection, we can.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, so moved. Why don't we just take it anyway?
Yeah. Please call the roll.
Second.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Okay.
Mrs. President?
Yes, Mr. Marne.
Mr. Flipiak, thanks for bringing up the ice skating competition. I mean, you got people coming
very
from all over,
exciting.
actually not only from this country, but other countries, as I was told. So people from Canada, so it'd be great to see all these out-of-town people visiting our fine community. And spending their money and.
Great for the
eating our
restaurants and the hotels and everything else.
So that's great. Number two is, I know, in speaking with Mr. Donovan, we've received a number of phone calls on having the different paving ordinances earlier about State Route 84. Can we get an update on that, Mr. Swigger? And from, not only from 84 to Garfield Road, but Garfield Road to 615. I know myself and Mr. Donovan, we both talked to state reps John Rogers and Ron Young in hopes of trying to get some more traction down in Columbus to get that completed.
Sure. We just received permission from the state of Ohio to advertise for bids for the project. So we're getting ready to do that. We expect to do that in the next couple weeks. We're just currently finalizing that process. So, but the project limits, I guess we've always been contesting with the state. They still believe that the section between Garfield Road and Center Street is not ready to be paved. That the condition of ratings are higher than the rest of the roadway. We've asked them to reconsider. They have not been willing to do that at this point. We have included that section of the roadway in our bid package to get a price on that. So I guess we're hoping to get good prices, and we'll consider that, but that would be 100% city funding if we go forward. Everything else is 80% state for the surface. Now, we do have to cover any intermediate course paving or upgrades to accessible ramps, but I mean, that's really what we're looking at, is probably having to do that section ourselves if we are to go forward with that. We did get permission to include it in the bid documents, and that was something we recently got approved through NOACA and ODOT. But at this point, it would be 100% city to do that middle section.
All right, thank you.
Madam President, that concerns me, Dave. You know, we're trying to get help from the state reps, and if we put it out to bid, I just, you know, we don't want to hold it up, and we don't want to pay for it ourselves. But if we're going to get help from our state reps, we may need a little time, you know. I don't know where we, you know, we'll do, is it going out for bid within the next few weeks, or?
We just received permission to do that. We would control
Okay.
our own bid schedule.
Well, I think there is a little bit more hope than normal with John Rogers being in his position on certain committees that he's on, especially the one that he's head of. So that's right in his alley. So he assured me when I talked to him, I know that you talked to him too, that he was going to do everything possible to get that, you know, extra, half mile included. You know, I just think it makes total sense to go from one state route 306 to another state route 615. Why you would stop, I have no idea. Especially when it's State Route 84, it's their road, not ours. But no, I'm hopeful. He seemed at least a little bit optimistic, so that's good too.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, clerk's correspondence.
Nothing to report.
Commission committee reports. Council's in receipt of the Planning Commission minutes of December 1st, 2016, and the Tree Commission minutes of January 4th, 2017. Old business. New business.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to appoint Janet Cushland to the four-year term on the Greater Mentor Port Authority ending 12/31/20.
I'd like to second.
Okay, we had no other nominees. Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Thank you. Persons before council. We have Elaine Foster.
I don't like this thing. Doesn't work. Madam President, thank you. Council, city manager, everyone present. I don't mean to chuckle, but when I heard someone say, don't I have the right to have a say about what goes in my front yard, I guess I don't know if that's right or not. we had, like I said, at the last meeting, we had 101 residents who signed a petition. And none of us had a right to have a say on what happened in our neighborhood. I got another letter today. The third culling in my neighborhood is going to take place next week. Happy Valentine's Day to all of us who live there. The culling program has been going on almost 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And the last flyover report, I'm still looking for numbers. I've been given some numbers by Parks and Recreation, and I'm grateful to one of the employees there that's been very kind, very kind. I can't say that about all of the people in the city, but one of them should have more of them on staff. The flyover doesn't represent the deer population in Mentor. There is a margin of error. There was a report from January 11th from Channel 5 News. And with all due respect, I'm not going to name names, but there was a gentleman from the city that said it's all about balance. And I don't know what that means when I look at the city that's so overdeveloped. The flyover report indicates that there's not much of Mentor left undeveloped. And the balance to me is you've got habitat, you've got wildlife, and you've got development. And it sounds to me like the development's way out of balance in the city. The ordinance prohibiting the feeding of deer in the wintertime, which is when the culling program starts, ideally, that's when the program starts. Because we're not allowed to feed the deer. There is nothing left for them to eat. And the habitat that is left, they go to for shelter, for food. But the city is allowed to feed. The city is allowed to bait. I won't say who in this group tonight is a member of, I don't even know if I should go here, knows very well that there's a lot of hunting that goes on in and around our neighborhood. So not only do you have the culling, you've got the hunting. The deer are surrounded. You bait, you put down food, and you have the sharpshooters waiting. I don't think it's a coincidence that you made that an ordinance at all, quite frankly. I'm going to get some more information for you for the next city council meeting about the city of Cincinnati. That there was just an article in the paper for those of you who subscribe to the News Herald on Monday. They've had a program in place where they're using birth control methods in the city, and they have had success. From what I understand from reading the past, it was $100,000, I think, to implement the beginning of the deer management program in Mentor. They've been using contraceptive devices going on this third year, and their cost is much lower than that to do that. And they are seeing results, and I would love to get more details and share it with you, and perhaps stop the slaughter in Mentor and maybe use some more ethical and humane methods of controlling the deer population. Thank you.
And next we have Sharon Moten.
Hi, my name is Sharon Moten. I live at 4988 Wake Robin Road in Mentor, which is north. And thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm going to talk about Veterans Park and the Lagoons, both parks which I love very much. And I was asked to come here by a lot of my fellow hikers to make sure everybody knew what had been going on recently. I don't want to really get into the calling too much, although some of what was brought up is it just seems in North Mentor that the deer population is very much under control. In January, there were 12 deer spotted and 5 killed. And people are wondering, why are the parks still being closed and this is going on when they do seem to be under control? And we're told the Veterans Park is going to be closed again on January 20th or February 20th. So that's a little side note, but what we wanted to talk about was the culling that just took place at the lagoons recently. And when they went, after they were done and we went up there to hike, what was found was that the trails were completely destroyed. So I think Mentor Council is aware that the Eagle Scouts have been coming in the last couple of years and doing amazing improvements to the Mentor Lagoons. And last year they really focused on the Marsh Rim Trail, did wonderful improvements. They installed some drainage pipes, and over those areas where they needed the pipes, they did some wooden reinforcements to keep the trail. They brought in some gravel and put benches all along the trail, and it was just delightful. So in one day, with this culling, the large vehicle was brought in. It was warmer weather. When they came in and realized that they were sinking a foot into the mud, instead of getting that large vehicle off, they just gunned it and went on through the woods, creating just a nightmare. You can't even walk the trail. It is just horrible. The residents are just beside themselves upset about it. We're used to having a wonderful park, and it was destroyed in one day. My own personal experience was very upsetting as I was walking that trail Sunday morning and having to get off the trail because you couldn't walk on it. And usually this is a really reflective, wonderful time of day for me. And as I got closer to the lake, about 15 feet off the trail was a very disturbed area completely covered with blood, where clearly a deer had been shot. Didn't really want to see it. I know it goes on. Didn't want to have to see it and be stuck with that mental image. Then on the rest of the way on the trail for about 300 yards was a trail of blood going all the way down the trail towards the lake. And the ruts became bigger, and you could tell they were really gunning it, which left me with a vision of a wounded deer being chased through the woods in this vehicle. That was very upsetting to me. I mean, I understand the reason for the culling, but this whole situation was very upsetting. I did speak with the city about it, who were very nice. I understand that Mr. Kaminsky went out and viewed the trails to see what had happened, and hopefully something's going to be done about that. So I just wanted to talk about that real quickly and let you know, that was pretty awful. And I hope that doesn't happen again. And if, with warmer weather, they need to not be taking those big trucks back there and destroying the trails and going muddying or whatever they were doing back there. But that's all I have to say, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Sharon and I can confirm, I know Mr. Kaminsky, we've had communication about that, and he has responded to residents. So we are aware of it.
Yeah, I knew he went out there, which I thought was great, that he went out personally to look and see what had happened. So I was real happy to hear that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and last we have Dave Lima.
Dave Lima, I live at 7774 Litchfield Drive. I'm going in a little bit different direction from some of the other comments made this evening. I want to thank Mr. Filipiak for making notice of the Democracy Day event that's going to be held tomorrow in this chambers at 7 p.m. It's a very important event, and I hope that all of City Council will be in attendance. And one of the things that we think would be important would be if members of council, in addition to the city manager and one member of council, which is required by city ordinance to give testimony at the Democracy Day, it would be really a good idea for other members of council to provide testimony as well concerning the topic of money and politics and its impact on our democracy. In addition to the forum, within a week later, according to ordinance, letters will be sent off to our state and federal legislators indicating to them that the citizens of Mentor are in favor of a constitutional amendment, the U.S. Constitution, that would declare the corporations are not people with constitutional rights, that corporations are not people with constitutional rights, and that money is not the equivalent of speech. It, in fact, is property. And therefore, money can be regulated in our political campaigns. In addition to those letters, I would also encourage members of council to personally reach out to our state and federal legislators, letting them know the intent of the ordinance that was passed in 2014. Thanks.
Move to adjourn.
So moved.